Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how to start your own lending business and your own credit business by using other people's money and how you can actually build this business recession proof, working from home, and take it up to 5 figures, 6 figures, and even up to 7 figures if you follow the right steps. I also talk about why this business is now for everyone. And I also talk about the pitfalls and the misconceptions and the myths about business lending. And I also give you a roadmap on how you can build this successfully. So if you're interested in starting your own business, if you looked into financial services industry, maybe you tried e-commerce before or online marketing before, you tried like marketing agency business. So if you're somewhat entrepreneurial, I highly suggest that you check out this video because I think, at least I will try to give you as raw of an information as possible for you to consider this opportunity and see if it is the right fit for you. So starting a lending business is not a new idea, right? That's how basically the banks work. They lend money to civilians and businesses. In return, they make interest on that money. So it's not hard to imagine that individuals thought about doing the same thing, becoming pretty much like their own bank and lending their own money to other people in return for an interest. So it's a very simple model, right? So around you, I'm sure you know people, friends and family, relatives, and even businesses who need access to capital. And if you have a little bit of capital that you want, you're sitting in your bank account, you want to make more money with the money that you have, it's a good idea to lend it to other people. And in return, they'll give you back more than what you lent them. It's a good idea on paper, but the problem with this is the scalability. You don't have unlimited amount of money. So even if you have a few $1,000s on the side, you can do that. But then by the time you get paid on that amount, well, your business is pretty much stuck, right? So it's very difficult to scale this business and turn it into an automated system of you making money with your money. That's where the business loan brokerage comes to play, where you can actually do the same thing by lending other people's money, right? That's another definition of leverage. For example, Robert Kiyosaki is a big supporter of this leverage idea, using debt to create wealth, using other people's money to make money with the money you got from them. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to become a business loan broker and pretty much start your own lending business, although you don't have to lend your own money. It's such a great concept that I watched thousands of people build their own businesses through this structure pretty much. It's a relatively simple business in its idea. Obviously, there are many complications within it, such as the product knowledge, how to lend the right amount and the right product. How do you make sure that the customers you bring in fit into the right product? How do you actually make money? How do you trust the industry, the system, right? So we're going to talk about that. So I wanted to make the distinction as the first topic that we cover is that what I'm going to talk about is not you lending your own money. Maybe that what brought you here is that idea that you want to make money with your money, but I want you to totally forget that for now. Although you can do that. If you have a lot of money, you can do that, but you need to know a lot more about the lending part before you kind of commercialize your own capital to make more money with that. So I will suggest that you take heed in what I'm saying when it comes to becoming a business loan broker. What that means is you are the broker, you're the middleman between the lender who has access to capital, and these could be a group of individual investors and they have a fund of a few $1 million, or it could be hedge funds that have access to hundreds of millions of dollars and they want to make more money with their money, and you become the trusted advisor to your customers, people who need the money, and you match your customer to the right lender, and in between you make a profit by being a liaison between their money and the customer. It's like a win-win-win situation. The lenders are happy because there is someone who can handle their capital and give it to the right person. The person who's receiving it, most of the time small businesses, they're happy. And as the broker, you're making a good chunk of money building that business. That's the business model in essence. The immediate question that comes to mind is, hey buddy, this business already exists. Banks already do that, right? So that's a common thing. Wait a second, you're telling me how this works, but this is exactly what the banks are doing that right now. And you might not want to compete with the banks. And I certainly understand it. I would not want to compete with the banks too. These are like billion-dollar conglomerate businesses out there. You're not going to just start a business loan broker and start competing with them. So how do we play this game? Well, the banks, their lending opportunities are directed and designed for larger businesses. So if you look at big banks, I don't know, TD Bank, PNC Bank, Chase Bank, their lending options are designed to help the mid-sized to large-sized businesses because these banks are publicly owned. They have a lot of regulations they have to comply by. And even then, they're not really playing clean if you follow what's happening in the banking industry. So what's left out is the majority of the businesses. How so? Banks target audiences mid-sized to large-sized businesses, right? But what makes up the entire economy is small businesses, which makes up about 70 to 75% of the entire economy, right? So banks are not really designed to provide a lot of funding for the small businesses. And their reasoning is that, first of all, small businesses, high risk. There's a very high failure rate among small business. So banks want to play safe. For that reason, they want to sell individuals their home, like they would give you a mortgage, but they would not give you funding for your business. They value business as a higher risk because you're likely to shut down your business, then you pretty much lose where you live and go homeless. So if giving you a mortgage on the home is a lot less risky for them than giving you money for your startup or with your small business. Maybe you run a deli and you're making $10,000, whatever, $15,000 a month, giving you capital for them is deemed to be higher risk. But that opens up a huge hole in the market, right? Because the people who need the money the most are the small businesses. And they can't really walk into their branch that they entrusted their money with, usually through a checking or saving account. When it comes to getting money from the bank, they're left alone. And this massive problem pretty much gave birth to an industry called alternative lending. As the name suggests, this industry is alternative to traditional lending or bank lending. So these are like private groups of lenders funding these small businesses based on a series of criteria, right? And I'm going to walk you through what those are and what kind of funding you can provide as a business loan broker. And over time, this alternative lending industry has been growing, actually skyrocketing, right? Especially with the past 10, 15 years. And the reason is that the small business community has been growing and flourishing. That's number one. Number two is people are disliking their banks more and more because they notice that banks just want to keep taking when it comes to giving back. They don't want to play fair. That's number two. Number three is they're now understanding their lending options. It is still in the infancy stages, but most businesses still do not know when it comes to how they can get access to capital. If you walk through a strip mall and stop by small businesses and do a little survey and ask them, hey, if you needed funding today, where would you get it from? Most of them would tell you that they would just go to their banks first, unless they have a rich cousin or uncle or something like that, right? And actually, that survey has been done, and based on the statistics, more than 70% of the small businesses said that they need capital. They need capital anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000. So they have an urgent need that needs to be filled immediately. So you're talking about a massive opportunity, and that is reflected in the growing size of the alternative lending industry. When I started this business, the size of the industry was estimated to be about $200 billion or so. Right now, it's estimated to be a little over $2 trillion. So the demand has been going up, and there are not enough lenders and brokers to supply the demand, which is the opposite of what happens with most industries. In most industries, most businesses you want to start, there are more people doing the business usually than the customers demanding the products and services, and that creates an imbalance. So that reflects on the pricing. So you're dealing with a competitive situation where the providers are not making a lot of money, right? Whereas in the lending industry, demand is so high, and the amount of people who are in the business loan brokerage industry is so little that there are a lot more customers who need funding, who are even aware of their lending options than the brokers who can help them. That's one of the reasons this is a massive industry, and it's been projected to grow at the same rate, at least for the next 5 to 6 years. It's not in its maturity yet. That's why this opportunity is super important for you to try to understand, right? Just stay with me through this. I'll do my best, hopefully, to help you understand how this industry works. Now we're clear on what alternative lending is, why it solves a huge problem, why there's a massive demand. So let's talk about how it actually works. So you're dealing with small businesses and startups. That's where the credit comes into play. For a startup, the definition of that is a pre-revenue company, right? So they don't have any revenue yet. They either have a business in the idea stage, or they establish the business, they're trying to get funding to buy the products or establish the system, spend for marketing. So you're dealing with those two main categories: small existing business, pre-revenue startup business. And now, as an alternative lending loan broker, you have options for both situations. Let's think about the existing business and what kind of things they might need funding for. One is they need to buy some kind of equipment. Think of an average restaurant and what they need, what they use in a day-to-day life. They need to use an electronic cash register. It's called POS system, point of sale system, and they cost anywhere from $5,000 to $45,000, depending on the needs that you have and the size of the place that you operate in. You need tools, you need a bar, you need a fridge, and you need cabinets, you need machines, you need software, security system, and all of that. These are all considered equipment. And you need to have a purchasing power to get that equipment. Well, one option as a business owner of this restaurant, maybe you get access to plastic, meaning that you have credit cards with high limits that you can go ahead and put around the credit card and buy them, which is not very common. Or you have investors to invest into your business, which is usually ideal for bigger businesses. Your sort of small mom and pop restaurant, I'm sure you know people who own their own restaurant. They don't have access to both, right? But they need to get this machine, or let's say a fridge that costs, I don't know, $5,000. They need to finance that. That gives birth to what's called equipment financing and alternative lending industry. So alternative lending industry in itself is a niche. Within it, there are more than 50 to 60 different sub-niche products. And as you gain expertise in that, in this industry, that's how you'll be able to build a 6 or a 7-figure business, because these are such niche products that you're not going to have much competition out there. Equipment leasing is one of them. This person wants to buy the fridge. They need to finance it. Maybe the vendor they buy from, they don't have financing options. As a business loan broker, if you have equipment financing lenders, you can broker this deal, help this business owner get buy their fridge, and they would pay it in long term in small chunks of monthly payments. And you have another scenario where someone needs capital, like cash, not credit cards, not any other form of lending option, and their personal credit situation is horrific. They made some credit mistakes and didn't pay the bills for a healthcare situation. Whatever the case is, their credit is bad. So that kills the options that they have. They can't apply for a credit card to pay with that. They can't really get any loans from the banks, but they need the capital like urgently. That problem is handled by a product called Merchant Cash Advance. As the name suggests, it is not a loan, it's an advance of the business's revenue. So if you're dealing with a small business who is generating revenue, but something broke and they need to get access to capital, Merchant Cash Advance gives them the capital within 24 to 48 hours. Believe it or not, that happens to be the most profitable product for the business loan brokers, because the average transaction pays you anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000. You're talking about $5,000 on one deal. That's like how much most people make working 40 hours a week in a month, right? That's like the average person in the United States makes about $45,000 to $50,000. If you're closing one of those deals per month, you're making like $60K. So you already surpassed what you were making through a job that you show up every single day for 40 hours. Maybe you've been doing it for 10, 15 years. And you're looking for that 5% raise from your boss if you behave. And you look at this business model, it's like one transaction can replace all of that. And all you have to do is find one customer who needs money right away. So it kind of starts, I hope you can see how the mindset shifts. So that's the amazing part about that product. Not so amazing part about that product is it's very high interest. Why? Well, you're dealing with a very high risk merchant. For that reason, the lenders, they put a very high price tag for this type of lending. Therefore, it's not best for every business, but it is best for a certain business. And as a business loan broker, you having access to that product will be lifesaver, not only for the right merchant and also for you. And we can go through a dozen different products that you can use. There's products in medical funding. like invoice factoring, meaning let's say you go to a doctor's office and they have to collect money from the insurance for each patient that comes in, right? Especially in long term. And these bills need to be paid by the insurance company. But doctors, their profit margins are getting smaller and smaller. They rather get paid up front than wait for that bill to be paid on a monthly basis in the next 5-6 years. There's something called medical invoice factoring, meaning that a company, a lender, would buy out that invoice for a discount and pay the doctor up front. Meaning, let's say if the doctor was to pay it every single month for the next 5 years, doctor would have gotten paid $500,000. It's a hypothetical number, right? But they would have to wait 5 years to get that money, get that $500,000, and they need the money right now. So this invoice factoring lender would come in and buy that at, let's say, $400,000. So on paper, this is costing the doctor $100,000 gap, right? So they were to receive $500,000. Now someone wants to buy it out cash for $400,000, but they get access to the money right away. So as you can see, that's a huge advantage for many people. So they rather let go of the total they would have received years and years after someone received the treatment versus getting it paid right now. So that's an amazing product. And that product not only applies to medical, it applies to manufacturing facilities, anyone doing any kind of government job, right? For example, you build the fence of your local town, right? So you're a painter and you paint it or you're a fencing company. So government cuts you a check for $80,000 for this massive project, but they usually pay in net 60 or net 90. What does that mean? Well, you have the payment, but it's going to take you 60 to 90 days to cash that. Well, that's a problem. If you're a small business, you have to pay your employees on a weekly basis. And, that the amount on that check is real money, but you can't cash it yet, but you have to pay your employees. So you can't just tell your employees, hey, buddy, you got to wait, 3 months because that's when I can cash this. You got to pay them every single week. These are the problems that small businesses deal with, right? So cash flow problems. So that small business can take that check and give it to an invoice factoring company. So instead of getting paid, let's say $50,000, they accept $47,000. So they lose $3,000, but they get the money right away. There's another product that as a business loan broker you can take advantage of. And the other product is there are a lot of funding options from the government, such as SBA, Small Business Administration funding options. As a business loan broker, you can broker those deals too, and they are pretty large deals. You can make 1 to 2 points on a $250,000 deal, and that's like $5,000 to $6,000. As a business loan broker, you can also work on real estate deals. That doesn't require you to be a licensed real estate agent or a real estate broker, because you're working with investors, fix and flip people who want to use their primary home as a way to pull money out without refinancing or without a HELOC situation. There are a lot of creative ways you can get involved with. As you can see, you're solving very real world problems for small businesses, and there are in millions. They would need someone like you, a consultant who knows what he or she is talking about, so they can rely on this person as an expert who can help them get access to capital. And another sweet thing about business lending, which I talk a great deal about, this business doesn't just pay you upfront capital, upfront commissions and revenue, because on an average deal, you're getting paid within a week to 10 days. So you're not waiting months to get paid. That's so sweet, right? So not every business works that way. And most of your earnings are profit, right? Because the leverage is so big when it comes to business lending. But also, don't forget that a small business, and when I say this, it will make sense to you, a small business needs funding throughout the year. It's not like you have one business and you never work with them again. If you are the type of person that you are, ethical, you work hard, and you help them, you help that business owner get the right type of funding, they're going to come back to you. So statistically speaking, on average, a small business needs funding 3 times a year. What that means for you is repeat payments. So you have upfront payments, you have repeat income, and also certain products pay residual. Residual mean that you sell it once and it keeps paying you on a monthly basis. There are lending options, for example, like a business line of credit. Every time the business does a draw from the approved line of credit, you get paid repeat income and residual income over that, over and over and over again. That's why when I talk about this industry, I'm not just talking about building something in a relatively short amount of time that will replace your job. Like most people drag their feet to go to that job, or in today's economy, it could be virtual, but there's really, for most people, there's no fun going in there because it's not something they're looking forward to for their financial future, right? I'm not someone who vilifies having a job, right? So that's perfectly fine. But for an entrepreneur, it puts a cap to your ability for what you can do for your own future, for your own financial future. So it's really, really important that you see the parts of this. So this business doesn't only allow you to relatively quickly replace your job and make more than what you're making right now. It helps you build long-term capital for you so you can build a really high six-figure business, but it helps you get wealthy, right? What that means is once you figure out how this lending game works, I'll take you back to the first assumption maybe you wanted to do with this business, lend your own money to make money. Now, if you grow this business to a certain point, then you have access to large chunks of capital. You can join with those lenders, become a lender, so you're lending your own money. So that helps you build wealth. That's leverage that billionaires use all the time, meaning that they use leverage to make money with their own money and money work for themselves instead of them working. So when you think about starting your own business, you want to make sure that the business category you're starting in fills in all these buckets. Will I be able to get fast results? Okay, good. Will I be able to get long-term results that allows me to build repeat income and residual incomes? I don't have to wake up every single morning and work for the rest of my life to just maintain the same level of income I make every single month. Check. Will I be able to build wealth with it? Check. Will I be able to exit out if I wanted to? Now, that's huge that no one seems to really talk about. In alternative lending, when you become a business loan broker, you're building your own portfolio of clients. They're there for you. They're your clients. And if you take good care of them, they're considered an asset, right? Your website will be considered an asset. Your marketing tools will be considered an asset. And in fintech industry, financial technology industry, financial investment industry, there is no shortage of money. I've seen a few times that a large company come in, buys a small brokerage shop for a few $1 million. So in this industry, you're able to do that as well. So as you can see, I'm trying to paint this picture for you to understand how you would understand this industry. Then imagine how this solves a big problem. But imagine solving that big problem pays you big because you get paid in the same proportion to the size of the problem that you solve. So helping somebody get access to capital is a pretty sizable problem, right, in any country. And then you solving that will open the gates for you to get paid a lot more money. Then over time, you can use this as a wealth building tool. And if you wanted to exit out, you can exit out at some point. So this all sounds amazing, obviously, but there are some pitfalls and misconceptions that people don't understand when it comes to this industry. So if you don't want to join the ranks of small businesses and become a part of that statistic of more than 80% of small businesses fail, you have to structure this the right way. So how would you become a business loan broker anyways? You don't just wake up one day and have access to all of this. The first thing is you got to know what you're talking about. And for that reason, you got to understand the products. Well, since there are many products, if you're doing this on your own without any assistance and you're coaching any of the legitimate training you can get, and we're we're the biggest organization in the alternative lending industry that provides that. But I'm not here to pitch you our services. But let's say you decide to do this on your own. One thing you have to overcome is there are so many lending options. You can't be just good at all of them, right? If you're doing this on your own, you got to pick one of them. That's why in this industry, most people who does it on their own start with merchant cash advance. Why? Well, it's like leverage, right? So you're targeting people who desperately need money, and you can provide that help to them. It costs them a really high amount, but it pays you really well and it solves their problem, right? So most brokers who start on their own, they go through that industry and they niche down that in this already niche industry, and they get their revenue going that way. Then if they're smart enough, they look at other options, right? Otherwise, you just do that and do nothing else. Well, then you're gonna have to sell products to people who are not a really good fit for that, because merchant cash advance can be a bad product if it is offered to the wrong person, right? So that's the first hurdle you have to overcome. You have to pick a product to get really good at. The second thing is you have to know the lenders, because who's going to lend the money? You're not going to be using your own money. So you have to get in touch with the lenders and start working with those who are okay with working with a new broker. That's another challenge. Can it be solved? Sure. If you knock long and hard enough, someone's going to open the door, right? I believe in that philosophy. I haven't started out with any relationship in this industry. I was just a door-to-door salesperson selling different products and services. And slowly I noticed the size of the industry, what's been happening. And this is over a decade ago, right? Even then, I thought this is mind-blowing. Right now, it's 10x of that. So that's the second challenge. So you got to understand the product. You got to understand how to find the lenders who would help you for your clients. The third is you got to know how to find customers, right? So you got to know the marketing. How do you get in front of people who actually need funding? How do you find them? Well, one option, again, for beginner brokers, the go-to option is hit the phones and do cold calling, right? I used to do that back in the day. I used to call 350 to 400 people a day just to book 2-3 appointments. That's pretty brutal. It gets to you after a while, even if you're an experienced salesperson. But if you're not a salesperson, you have no sales experience, well, good luck. They'll be very challenging for you to talk to people, find them and get in front of them unless you enjoy going out there and pulling on doors, which I've done for many, many years. So my week when I had a corporate job, used to consist of like 3 days of cold calling, pulling on doors, and 2 days of telemarketing, dialing 300 to 400 people to get customers, right? So that's the main pitfall that many beginner brokers fall into, because they don't really understand online marketing and they don't really understand the concept of permission-based marketing, meaning that having customers come to you versus you go out there and beg them to do business with you. That's a totally different approach than what we teach at our training, a business lending blueprint. So that's the third challenge that you have. And the fourth one is the amount of money you leave on the table, right? Because certain people will decline your offer because all you have is that one product, but they would be a great fit for a separate product that would fit into their situation well, but you're not equipped to handle that. You just know one thing, maybe two things at most. You don't understand how the rest of the industry works. So this person says no to you, then you lose the customer. They go find another broker who's well equipped on different lending options and they solve the problem. They become the hero. So you leave that money on the table. Those are a few things that to keep it in mind if you're planning to start this business on your own. But other than that, it's a very, very lucrative business. You can get it up and running. If you're like a self-starter person, you should certainly do well in this industry because you can hit the ground running really, really fast and start landing clients if you're following the right steps. Now, who is this business not for? Honestly, a lot of people confuse entrepreneurship with being bored at your job, right? That's not a reason to start a business. If you don't like your job, go change your job. If you don't like your boss, go change your boss. Being an entrepreneurial is this feeling of uneasiness, like being antsy and feeling like you're not where you deserve to be. It's like you feel like you're out of place. I think that's the best way I can explain this because I've been in that situation. So I climbed the corporate ladder only to find out that that's not what I wanted to do. And I quit my job when I was making about $200,000 a year, right? So I was a highly paid individual, but you get this feeling, you're wasting your time, you're out of place, and you feel the discomfort that things are not going to go well. And that's like this, fire in your belly situation that you're made to do better things than just work for somebody. Again, I'm not trying to put down anybody who does a great job at the job that they have, but I'm explaining entrepreneurial people, like trying to define them with my own words or what that feeling is like, because I can vividly remember the comfort that I had when I just quit my job and I burned my ships and started my own business. When you think about it, you would think that would create a lot more stress than holding on to like starting something from scratch and quitting a very high paying job would create more stress than holding on to that job. But for me, it was the opposite. It was such a relief to get rid of that corporate structure and waiting for them to fire me as I get older because I'm a highly compensated employee for them than starting my own business, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, that's the reason you want to do this. And how do you know if you're an entrepreneur? While you're feeling just like what I told you, you're not feeling comfortable. You know that your potential is up there, but the security, that secure feeling of the job keeps you in there because they pay you every week most likely, and you get your benefits, and it is relatively easy, although it's very stressful because you're getting the pressure from your superiors and whatnot, but it feels safe. And although it's like boiling a live frog in water, right? So you put them in the cool water first, and you slowly increase temperature. They don't notice that they're being cooked. This is the same mentality for an entrepreneurially minded person. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get that feeling. You feel like you can accomplish a lot, and we all get one chance unless you believe in different types of life forms and all that stuff. And you feel like you're wasting that opportunity. You can do a lot more. And you also might have financial stress, right? Maybe you're not making enough, and you feel like as long as you stay at that job, you're not gonna ever catch up with the bills. And you usually have a shortage of $500, maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month. And the option you have to do is lower your standards instead of increasing your income, right? That's the dilemma most people deal with. Like, you always hear like Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, don't spend more than you can afford and save money and all that stuff. But for an entrepreneurial person, the option is make more money than what you need, so you don't have to lower your standards, right? That's very, very important. So I'm trying to give you signs that you might be a very entrepreneurial person in case you haven't noticed. So for those type of people who know they can do way better with their lives, and they can earn unlimited income, they can live in better places. And if you're into buying fancy cars and having a lot of money and big houses and hang out with people who are wealthy and create your own circle of network, then you know what I'm talking about, right? So you know that you need to start a business, you need to grow that business, and it's your duty to find the right vehicle. A business opportunity is nothing more than a vehicle that will take you to your final destination. So you better well define that final destination. That's why if you are looking to do something because you're lazy at your job, or you don't like your job, you don't like your boss, well, you might be misdiagnosing your symptoms. It might be just because either you don't like working hard, or you're at it, you're working for the wrong company, and starting your own business will not solve that, right? So you need more than that to be a successful business owner. So I hope this is making sense. And if it is making sense, please comment below and let me know what your thoughts are and what you're going through right now. Like, is which one of these symptoms that you see that helps you decide you're an entrepreneur? So if that's the case, you're entrepreneurial, I would hold on to this business like your life depends on it, because it will provide the leverage. There's nothing more attractive, and I always say this, there's nothing sexier than selling money. Most businesses is very transactional, meaning that they provide a product to get access to money, and the customer you sell that product to will use that to make more money. So like, there are middle layers to get to the money. Whereas what if you give someone $30,000, $40,000 and they give you a percentage of that? You're selling money. It's the most direct thing that has ever existed. That's why banks are massive. They're like the biggest businesses out there, because they sell money. Simple as that. You can hate on the banks if you want, or you can become your own bank. Initially start with lending other people's money. So that's the business that we're in. Alternative lending industry is a massively growing industry. It is recession proof, in case you haven't figured out why, because any kind of recession, or like what we've been going through for the past 2-3 years, any kind of major shift in the market, big banks restrict their funding criteria even more. They already struggle with lending small businesses. This past 15 to 18 months, they even added more restrictions to their funding criteria. Those small businesses who apply for a business loan, their decline rate, just listen to this, like this is important. over 85%, meaning that if 10 people apply for business loan, only 1.5 will be able to get that. And about 80% of them will never qualify for the amount they wanted to get. It's just some random amount that banks thinks that you're worthy of, pretty much, right? What does that create? So even during the recession, our members were funding millions of dollars, because now small businesses still need money. It's even more difficult to get it from the bank, which fuels the alternative lending industry. So when I say recession proof, it's not like a fake buzzword to grab your attention. It really works that way. Just think about it for a second. Like, we're going through tough times right now, and this may last a few years, and it goes in cycles. I mean, if it doesn't last a few years, a decade from now, we're going to go through tough times again. It's just a cycle of things. It's the nature of things, right? So that's why you want to be in a position that your business is not impacted by recessions and crises of such like the one we've been going through. That's why this is such an important industry, because selling money will never go out of fashion or demand. Nothing will replace this unless in the future gold or cryptocurrency totally replaces money. Then as a broker, you'll be selling them, right? So it doesn't matter for you. But you want to build a business that removes the barriers to having access to capital as much as possible. That's why when I first started, I said that this is a relatively simple business, because once you understand the philosophy behind it, providing capital to other businesses and making money doing so, a lot of the businesses stop making sense to you, because then, it has the other businesses have layers for you to make money. If the end goal is to provide a good product that solves a problem and you make money, then why do I need to sell oranges? Yeah, people want to buy oranges, for example. They pay me money, so I, at the end, make money and they get what they want. But then I'm dealing with oranges and all that stuff. Why don't I give the guy the money so he can go buy oranges, and by me giving the money, they give me something in return, like basics of business lending, right? So that's the business that we deal with. So I just wanted to close it with this thought. Just put some good thought into it. Below this video, you're going to have a lot of resources to more free training on how to become a business loan broker. If you want to generate a lot of leads, I suggest that you stay away from purchasing leads, telemarketing and cold calling. It is so old school. Does it work? Yes, it does work, but there are way better ways of utilizing what we have in our hands right now. Everyone is glued on their phone, right? So there's a whole world of online marketing. That's actually, as a matter of fact, it's how you're watching me right now, probably on YouTube or some other page that we own about this industry. So why not use it to your advantage? I mean, you can get leads for free, and for sometimes for as low as like $1 to $2. That's someone who's looking to talking to you to get access to capital. So if you're starting on your own, I wish you the best of luck. You're making a right decision. If you're interested in what we do at Business Lending Blueprint, I'm the founder and the owner of Business Lending Blueprint, largest lender network, lender training in the United States and Canada. We helped over 3,000 people start this journey with us and quit their business. And we had many people who built a 6-figure business, and also have many people who built a 7-figure business with teams. But many of our brokers just want to work from home and claim their freedom. Again, this is not a get-rich-quick solution. This requires work. So I highly suggest that you take a look at this in that light. But hopefully this was helpful. Subscribe to our channel and comment below what you think about this little presentation. And if you decide to join us, I'll look forward to seeing you on the other side. Take care now.